priority. It is not given any priority. But it assumes that opening work in progress. But it assumes that opening work in progress. It assumes that opening work in progress is part of the finished goods. Opening work in progress is part of the finished goods. Is part of the finished goods, and therefore, when computing the equivalent units, comma, the opening work in progress, the opening work in progress will be considered. The opening work in progress will be considered as part of the output. Will be considered as part of the output in the final product. Will be part of the output in the final product. Will be part of the output in the final product. Then we continue by writing that this method recognizes the opening work in progress costs. This method recognizes the opening work in progress costs. It recognizes the opening work in progress costs and the units. The opening work in progress costs and the units. Therefore, the opening work in progress costs. Therefore, the opening work in progress costs. The opening work in progress costs will be part of the costs. Will be part of the costs to be taken into account. Will be part of the costs to be taken into account. To be taken into account when computing the product cost per unit. When computing the product cost per unit. When computing the product cost per unit. Hence, the process account. Hence, the process account will automatically balance. Hence, the process account will automatically balance. Hence, the process account will automatically balance. So we can have NB. So we can be able to have some NB. So NB, we start with number 1. NB 1. So NP number 1, we write that when the question is structured, as having units, when the question is structured as having the units transferred from the previous process, to the current process, from the previous process to the current process, comma, and some direct materials are added, then in the equivalent units statement, comma, there will be material 1 and material 2. In the equivalent unit statement, there will be material 1 and material 2. In the equivalent unit statement, there will be material 1 and material 2. There will be material 1 and material 2. So that is now what we shall be analyzing when it comes to that portion. So now we go to number 2. Number 2, note number 2 is that when the question is structured as having material 1 and material 2, when the question is structured as having material 1 and material 2, when the question is structured as having material 1 and material 2, as having material 1 and material 2, material 1 and material 2, and the degree of completion, and the degree of completion, and the degree of completion of both materials, the degree of completion of both materials is given as 1%, as 1, is given as 1, is given as 1, without distinguishing, without distinguishing the material it relates to, without distinguishing the materials it relates to, without distinguishing the materials it relates to, without distinguishing the materials it relates to, then it is assumed that, material 1 is 100% complete. It is assumed that material 1 is 100% complete. Material 1 is 100% complete, and the percentage given is for material 2, and the percentage given will be for material 2, and the percentage given will be for material 2. The percentage given will be for material 2. Then now note number 3 is that when the question has abnormal gain or loss occurring, when the question has abnormal gain or loss occurring, when the question has abnormal loss or gain occurring, but the degree of completion, of the normal loss is not given, but the degree of completion of the normal loss is not given, then the abnormal loss or gain, is assumed to be 100% complete. Then the abnormal loss or gain is assumed to be 100% complete. It is assumed to be 100% complete. Is assumed to be 100% complete at all elements of the costs. At all elements of the costs. So that is now number 3. Number 4 is that when using FIFO method, when using the FIFO method, the computation of the equivalent units, for the opening work in progress, the computation of the equivalent units for the opening work in progress, is done by computing. It is done by computing the remaining percentages. It is done by computing the remaining percentages of the degree of completion. Is done by computing the remaining percentages of the degree of completion. Otherwise, all other items in the equivalent units, all other items in the equivalent units will take into account will take into account the degree of completion as given. It will take into account the degree of completion as given. We take into account the degree of completion as given. It will take into account the degree of completion as given. So there are steps you want to follow, but those steps we shall be going through each question. We want to get a question so that we can now apply those particular steps. So the first question I want us to use, there is a question in the sitting of May 2021. May 2021, there is a question number 4, part A. May 2021, there is a question number 4, part A. May 2021, there is a question number 4, part A. So that question 4, part A for May 2021, the question reads that, the following information is available for process 2. The following information is available for process 2 of Binana Fabrication Limited for the month of September 2020. For the month of September 2020. Opening stock, there were 4,800 units, valued at shillings 165,000. Degree of completion is given. Materials is 70%, labor is 60%, overhead is also 60%. Additional information, note number 1, transfer from process 1 amounted to 30,600 units, valued at shillings 306,000. Note number 2, additional cost incurred in process 2 included direct material is given, direct labor and production overheads. The note number 3, the units scrapped amounted to 2,400 units with the following degree of completion. The note number 4, the closing stock was 5,400 units with the following degree of completion. So material is given as 60%, labor 40%, overhead is also 40%. Note number 5, transfer to process 3 amounted to 27,600. Then there was a normal loss of 10% of the production in the process. So they gave you some details. Transfer to process 3, it amounted to 27,600 units. The note number 6, there was a normal loss of 10% of the production in the process. So units scrapped realized 10 shillings per unit. So now required A, the statement of equivalent production. A should be the statement of equivalent production. B, cost of the equivalent units for each element of costs. Then C, process 2 account using first in, first out method. Process 2 account using the first in, first out method. So let us start off with part A. But before then, we are using the first in, first out method. We are using the first in, first out method. We are using the FIFO method. Using the FIFO method. We are using the FIFO. So when using the first in, first out method. So before we go to part A is the same as the step number 3 of using the work in progress. So that part A is the same as the step number 3. But there are 2 steps before then. There are 2 steps before then. So we start off with the step number 1. So we start with the step number 1. So step 1, you can write that. Step 1, you can write that. Determine the flow of production. To determine the flow of production, determine the flow of production in order to get abnormal gain or abnormal loss. In order to get the abnormal gain or the abnormal loss. In order to get the abnormal gain or abnormal loss. So that's now the first step. So in that first step, this is now the flow of production. This is now the flow of production. This now in the flow of production. So in the flow of the production, we normally start off with the opening work in progress. We normally start off with the opening work in progress. So opening work in progress in units, because they are always in units. They are meant in units. So opening work in progress. You are given in the first paragraph. So opening stock, they were 4,800 units, valued at what then completed as follows. So opening work in progress is 4,800 units. It is 4,800 units. Then we add transfer from process 1. We add from process 1. We add from process 1. So from process 1, there were 30,600 units. From process 1, in the lot number 1, there were 30,600 units. Then now you less the closing work in progress. So closing work in progress, it is there in the note number 4. Note 4, the closing stock was 5,400. 5,400. So when you subtract, now we shall get the production in units. So we get the production. So you give me the figures. I don't have anyone in the physical class, so make sure you give me those figures, and all of you compute so you compare whether they are correct in that order. So I'm told it is 30,000. I'm told it is 30,000. So once you have computed that, we now less the normal loss. be less the normal loss. We subtract the normal loss. So normal loss, I would like you to go to the note number 6. Note 6, they had said that there was a normal loss of 10% of the production at the process. So get 10% of 30,000. We get 10% of 30,000. So this should give you 3,000. So when you subtract, you get the expected output. We get the expected output. So that expected output should be 27,000. So we compare that with the actual output. We compare that with the actual output. So actual output was given to you in the note number 5. Transfer to process 3. It amounted to 27,600. So this one is 27,600. So we are to get the abnormal gain or loss. Abnormal gain or loss. So there is abnormal gain or loss of 600. So is it a gain or a loss? Is it a gain or a loss? Is it abnormal gain or abnormal loss? We did something yesterday where we are comparing the actual output and the expected output. So this one will be abnormal gain or abnormal loss. So this one is abnormal gain. You get abnormal gain of the 600 units. So you get a gain of the 600 units. So alternatively, to get the same, or also to get the same, what you need to do, you start with the normal loss. You start with the normal loss. So normal loss, we have seen it is 10%. It has given you 3,000 like that. So we compare that with the units scrapped. Units that were scrapped. So units that were scrapped were given. Units scrapped were given. The units that were actually scrapped were given. So units that were actually scrapped were given. So the units that were scrapped were given to you in the note number 3. Units scrapped amounted to 2,400 units. 2,400 units. So when you subtract, you will get the 600, which is abnormal gain. So that will be your step number 1. You can either use this or you can use that. The reason why I'm showing you both, sometimes you may not be given this actual output. A question may not give you the actual output. So if the question has not given you the actual output, you can calculate that actual output. To calculate it, start with this part. Start with this part, get your abnormal gain or abnormal loss. Then come back to this statement. follow where there is actual output, put there a question mark. Then you already have abnormal gain. So what should be the actual output? So you need to know both, simply because some questions may not give you the actual output. So if the actual output is not given, now you follow both. So that's now our step number one. That would be our step number one, where you need to come up with the actual output, where we need to get abnormal gain or abnormal loss. So we got the step number two. We now got the step number two. So step number two is that to determine the units, that were started and completed in the current period, to determine the units that were started and completed in the current period. Units started and completed in the current period. So we come up with the units that were started and completed in the current period. So the units started and completed in the current period. Units started and completed in the current period. So to calculate the units started and completed in the current period. When you want to calculate units started and completed in the current period, you simply will be required to take the actual output. Simply take the actual output, you subtract the opening work in progress. You simply take the actual output, you subtract the opening work in progress. Subtract the opening work in progress. So actual output in units, you have seen them in the note number 5, the 27,600, the 27,600. So we subtract the opening work in progress. So that opening work in progress, remember the 4,800. So what do we come up with when you know that? So get for me the figure you will be coming up with in that element. So you get 22,800. So it will be able to give you 22,800 units. So that is now meant to be our step number 2. So after the step number 2, now we go to the step number 3. So step 3 is the same as your part A of the question. Step 3 is the same as the part A of the question. The step number 3 will be the same as the part A of the question. So that step 3, which is part A of the question, statement of equivalent production. They would like you to come up with a statement of the equivalent production. Statement of the equivalent production. Now to prepare the statement of the equivalent production. This is now the statement. Statement of equivalent production. Now get the statement of equivalent production. The statement of equivalent production. So in that statement of equivalent production, that statement of equivalent production. So we normally have the input, then the units. And also we shall be having the output, also the units. So this question had two types of materials. The one that were transferred in and the one that were incurred. So we shall be having material one, material two, labor, and also the overheads. So the question had two types of materials. Material that were brought in and also the ones that were added. So we'll be having the units and also the percentage. Units, also the percentage. So on the side of the inputs, you start off with the opening work in progress. So there were 4,800 units. And also from process one. So from process one is what was brought in the note number 5. Sorry, in the note number 1. It was 30,600. So that is now the input. On the side of the input, remember we are only interested with the units. So that will be from process 1. Then on the side of the output, we start again with the opening work in progress, which is 4,800. But now you want to know how they were completed. So this question had two types of materials. Material one is what was transferred in from the previous process. Then material 2 is what was incurred in that process. So if you analyze what is there in the question, there is material 1. So that material 1 is what was transferred in. So when you check under the degree of completion, if you check under the degree of completion of the opening stock of the work in progress, so material, they have given you 70%. Labor, it is 60%. Overhead is 16%. So for the opening work in progress, you want to know what is going to be completed in the current period. You want to know what is going to be completed in the current period. So this question has only given you one type of material. If you go through the notes, we were able to write in the note number 2. If the question has only given one degree of completion for the material, without distinguishing it is for which material, we normally assume that material 1 is 100% complete. What is being given is for material 2. So for the opening, we take the remaining percentage. We take the remaining percentage. So that will mean that material 1 is 100% complete. What you are given is for material 2, which is 70% complete. Then also labor and overheads. So material 1, we assume it is 100% complete. What you are given is for material 2. So if it is 100% complete and we want to get the remaining percentage, so remaining percentage for material 1 will be 0. Because the material is 100% complete, there will be nothing to be completed in the current period. So there will be nothing to be completed in the current period. So material 2 is what they have given you as 70%. So if it is 70% complete, the remaining percentage to be completed will be 30%. So get 30% of 4,800. What is 30% of 4,800? What is 30% of 4,800? So you get 1440. So this one will be 1440. Then labor, it is 60% complete. So if it is 60% complete, you will be, sorry, this one is point. So labor, it is 60% complete. So if it is 60% complete, the remaining percentage will be 40%. So get 40% of 4,800. You get 40% of 4,800. What is 40% of 4,800? So that is 1920. This one will be 1920. Remember overheads, it was also 60%. So the remaining is 40%. So 40% of that is also 1920. So that is now in relation to opening work in progress. The other item is the normal loss. The other item being the normal loss. So normal loss, you remember we calculated, it was 10%. It was 10% of the production. And you remember the 3,000? The normal loss, I suspect it was 3,000. Was it 3,000? The normal loss. Was the normal loss 3,000? We had already calculated. So the normal loss is a loss which, once it occurs, you have no control over it. The normal loss, once it occurs, you have no control over it. So it will just be gaseous. We cannot convert it into finished goods. goods. Normal loss cannot be converted into the finished goods. Once it occurs, it has, like now, once water evaporates, you cannot recover it. The next item will be abnormal gain. Abnormal gain. The next one is abnormal gain. So what was the abnormal gain? What did we get as the abnormal gain? So it was 600. So because it is a gain, we subtract. If you remember, the gain in the process account was appearing on the side of the input. But now, because we are preparing the statement of equivalent units, we put it there, but we subtract. We shall be subtracting because it's a abnormal gain. Remember, if it is a loss, we just include it. So in the notes, I had given you a hint that if the degree of the normal loss, if you check through the notes, the note number 3, where we said that where the question has abnormal gain or loss occurring, but the degree of completion for the normal loss is not given, then abnormal gain or loss is assumed to be 100% complete. So you are not given, when you check through, you are given the degree of completion. So if it is not given for the normal loss, we normally use 100%. But this one, it was given. You see what they gave you as the units that were scrapped. The units scrapped, they amounted to 2,400 units that were. So those are now meant to be the degree to be used to apportion the abnormal gain or abnormal loss. So material 1, we say is 100% complete. Then now what is given is for material 2. What is given is for material 2. So opening work in progress, you take the remaining percentages. But any other, you take the percentages the way they are here. So this one will be 100%. So 100% of 6,600 will just be 600 like that. Then the one given in the note number 3, it will be for material 2. It is also 100%. So even that one will give you 600. Then labor is what is given as 70%. So 70%. What is 70% of the 600? What will be the 70% of the 600? What should be 70% of the, so this one should give you 420. Also, this one is 70%. It is also 420. So that is now for the abnormal gain. Then there are also units started and completed in the current period. Units started and completed in the current period. So the next one is the units started and completed in the current period. So we calculated in the working number 2. You remember step 2? Step 2, how many units were started and completed in the step number 2? Units started and completed in the current period. So it is 22,800. It is meant to be 22,800. So it was started and completed in the current period. When it is started and completed, it will be 100% complete at all stages. It is 100% complete at all stages. 100% complete at all stages. It is 100% complete because it was started and completed in the current period. When it is started and completed in the current, it is 100% complete at all stages. Then the last one is now the closing. Closing work in progress. The last one is now supposed to be the closing work in progress. So when it comes to the closing work in progress, it is there in the note number 4. It is 5,400. It is 5,400. So the degree of completion in the note number 4. So material 1 will be 100% complete because the one given will be for material 2. So opening work in progress, you take the remaining percentages, but this one you take the percentages the way they are given. So this one will be 100%, which is 5,400, like that, which is meant to be 5,400. Then material 2 is what is 60%. So what is 60% of 5,400? What will be 60% of 5,400? So 3240. 3240. Then labor is also labor, they gave you 40%. Labor is 40%. What is 40% of 5,400? So 2160. So also this one is 40%. Get 2160. So get these totals. So get those totals. So that will be your part A of the question. So get those totals. The one that is in bracket, you subtract. The one that is in bracket, you subtract. So get those totals, then you give me the figures. Get those totals, then you give me the figures. So, what are the figures? This one is which value? This first one you are getting which here? So this one is 35,400. So this one must also be 35,400. I hope it is also 35,400. Then also give me this one for material one. Material one is 27. How about material two? $26,880. Then labor was which here? 26,460. Overhead, is it the same? Also 26,460. So that is now our part A of the question. That was our part A of the question, which is the same as the step number 3. Step 3 is part A of our question. So now we go to part B. That is now the step number 4. So part B is the same as the step number 4. So that's step 4, which is the same as our part B of the question. We shall be required to calculate the statement of the equivalent unit for each element of the costs. So the cost of equivalent. So we prepare the statement of the cost per unit. So we come up with the statement of the cost per unit. So we come up with the statement cost per unit. So statement of units. Now the statement of cost per unit. Statement of the cost per unit. So in the statement of the cost per unit, we should be having elements of cost, then amount, then cost per unit, units, then the cost by units. So we start off with material one. We start off with material one. Material one is what was brought in from the previous process. If you go to the note number one, transfer from process one, it amounted to 30,600 units. So the amount is 306,000. 306,000. But on that figure, you less the normal loss minus normal loss. So normal loss, if you remember, it was 3,000. But in the note number 7, the number units scrapped, they were scrapped at 10 shillings. So we minus the scrap value of the normal loss. So this one should be scrap value. Scrap value of the normal loss. So that should be able to give you 30,000. So when you minus 30,000, it will give you which figure? So when you subtract, you'll be able to give you which figure? $276. So you get 276. So we get 276. Like that. Then equivalent units for material one. Remember this figure. It is 27,600. The units are these ones. So when you take this divide by that, what should be the cost per unit? What should be the cost per unit? So this one, then we go to material 2. We go to material 2. So material 2 is what was transferred in the note number. So what was in the card? So when you go to the note number 2, they were able to give you 134. This 134,400. Then material 2 is 26,880. So that should give you which year? So that one should be A5. So the next one is supposed to be labor. The next one is meant to be labor. So labor, when you check in the note number 2, direct labor is 394. It is 394, 200. So that one, it is 26, 460. So that one should give you which figure? So 14.9. The last one is overheads. So overheads, it is 525. So that one should give you which value? So you can add them together to give you the cost. So that is now your part B of the question. So before we prepare the process account in part C, we shall first get valuation of the abnormal gain. Valuation of abnormal gain. We shall start off with valuation of abnormal gain. So when it comes to valuation of abnormal gain, start off with material 1. Start off with material 1. So abnormal gain, there were how many units? Abnormal gain, there were how many units? But I want you to use the ones that you have in the statement of equivalent units. The ones you have in the statement of equivalent units. That's the same as in part A. Material 1, it is 600. But you add them at 10. So material 2. Material 2, how many units were there for material 2? Abnormal gain. When you check in that statement of equivalent units, material 2, It was also 600, but you value it at 5. Then there is labor. Labor, there were how many units? There were 420. You value them at 14.90. The last one will be the overheads. Overheads, was it also for 20? But this one you value it at 19.86. So you will add them together now to get valuation of the abnormal gain. So that you come up with valuation of the abnormal gain. So apart from the valuation of the abnormal gain, you got the step number 6, where you get valuation of the closing work in progress. You also come out with valuation of the closing work in progress. Valuation of the closing work in progress. So we still use the same details. But material one, it was 5,400. We still multiply by 10. How about material 2? Well, closing work in progress in the statement of equivalent units. Material 2, there were how many units? The 60% of, so this one is 3214. How about labor? Labor, it was which figure? 160. So this one is 160. So get the valuation of that closing work in progress. So once you have done that, now we prepare the process to account in the part C of the question. So we now go to part C of the question. So we now prepare the process to account. So you start off the opening work in progress. You start off with opening work in progress. So the units were 4,800. So they were valued at 165,000. They were valued at 165,000. Then there is also from process 1, also from so in the note number 1, there were 30,600. So it came to 306. Then on direct materials. In the note number 2, there is 134. 134. The next one is direct labor. So direct labor, it is 394. 200. There is overheads. So this question had abnormal gain. So you did the evaluation for the abnormal gain. I've seen a figure where I was given 23. 23,599. Then this side, there is the normal loss. It was 3,510. Then output was equal to process 3. So to process 3 is the output, which was there in the rock number 5. It is 27,600. So this one will be the balance figure. Under the first in, first out. Yeah. Output will be the balancing figure. Then closing work in progress. Closing work in progress. So closing work in progress, there were 5,400 points. So the amount, I was given the figure for that, which is 145 to 82. 145. 145 to 82 like that. So get these totals. So the same total you put there. So this one will be the balancing figure. When you use the first in, first out method, the output will be the balancing figure. So get those values. Then you give me the figures. And we are using the first in, first out method. The output should be the balancing figure. So what should be the total amount at this level? So what should be the balancing figure? What should be the balancing figure to be now at that point? So that's now a question on the first in, first out. So when we meet in the next class, I will do a question now using the weighted average to distinguish the two methods. Now using the weighted average using the two methods. So this was the part C of the question. So this one was the part C of the question. So we can stop there for now. Can stop there. So when we meet, we shall now do a question on the weighted average to compare the two methods.